get a call almost every day from the assistant director saying, Mr. Anderson wants you on the set, or Ms. Davis wants you on the set, which meant that either one of them were annoyed about something.
At each other's throats.
So one day I get the call, it's about 3 weeks into the production, and I said, Ms. Davis and Mr. Anderson want you on the set. So I know I'm in big trouble, and so I get there, and Betty had wanted to do this one scene where she was doing kind of blind. She was blind. She was the blind sister, and she wanted to do a scene where she was kind of watering the garden as a blind person, with a watering and feeling the flowers, sort of, I guess, stemming from Dark Victory. And Lindsay hated that scene, and she definitely wanted to do it, and they were going back and forth before I got there about it. And then Lindsay said to her, "You're not taking over this picture," which in front of the entire crew. So she got it up and went into her room and wouldn't come out of it, and she said she's leaving the picture. And then Lindsay told me what happened, and I said that his contract states that if he works for 3 weeks, he can get paid for the entire movie. I said, what are you talking about? You're going to walk off the picture because of this? So I said, you're not walking off the picture. We're not ending the picture because of this stupid little fight. So I went in to Betty and talked to her about it, and then I went to Lindsay and played Henry Kissinger for about an hour. I said, Lindsay, just shoot the fucking scene. You don't have to use it, and children will get out of it. So that's what happened. I told Betty we're going to shoot the scene, and she said to me, yeah, Betty's never going to use it. And we shot the scene. It wasn't in the film. We were able to finish the picture.
Right. It's a beautiful movie, by the way.
It
Winds
is.
of August, yeah. That'll be in your retrospective.
So
And you'll have to be
we have a few more minutes. I'd like to invite a couple of questions from the audience, if there are any. You have a question there? Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the film and of you, and especially the soundtrack. Who was it that came up with the idea to incorporate Alan Price on film?
Very much Lindsay Anderson. Lindsay had worked with Alan. He did a documentary about him, following him around the north of England to the working men's clubs where he was playing. And he obviously saw a great talent. And Alan did all the music for the plays Lindsay was doing. And so this was just a given that he was going to do the music for the movie, and the music would be written along with the script. So if we came to a sort of rather a scene that was not that brilliant, Lindsay would say, well, give that to Alan, maybe he can come up with something. And that's what he did. And I'll never forget the moment, the time he came round to my house at 12 at night with the reel of the Oh Lucky Man, that particular song. The last version, there's two versions, one at the beginning and one at the end. The one at the end is different, they're different. And he played it, cranked my stereo up as high as it was incredible. We were like, oh my God, it's so great. And of course, then he comes into the film like an actor. I mean, he's like a Greek chorus anyway, the music and his musicians, and then he comes into the piece playing this musician, so it's a beautiful device that works really well.
It also was a big part of the movie's success too, because the music had a success independent of the movie that fed the success of the movie. That was my memory of it. That the movie not only succeeded well when it opened, but it had kind of what they call long legs. That it was able to really be opening still in theaters a year after it came out.
People always love that soundtrack, and the thing that staggered me was it's all original music, and he wasn't even nominated. He wasn't even just completely ignored, which is mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
But hey, not really.
Yeah. Right. What else is new? You have a question here? Yes.
Tremendously enjoy the editing of the film with the black slugs in between scenes. When the screen goes black for a few moments.
Did you do a thesis about this film as well? You're not going to give me another book, are you?
Let me reiterate the question just for the folks in the back, the gentleman's questioning about, the fades to black. There's a constant sort of fades to black throughout the film as a kind of signposting that goes through.
Are you asking why we did that?
Yes,
Yeah.
did you do that beforehand, or if this came up during?
Was it something beforehand? Did
No,
it come up
this
in the end?
came up in the editing because it was very difficult to go from one sequence to another, and it's something that they devised in the editing room that really seemed to work really well. So that's why that's there. And it does work very well, I think.
It seems that Lindsay Anderson, just as a storyteller, does tend to think in chapters too. It's true gift, where the
Yeah.
intertitles, but
Exactly.
it helps with
There's titles
concentration.
here a little bit
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of facts in this movie that come up. It gives the population of the world and then says of that population, so many billions are in prison. All these facts are complete nonsense. We made them all. Nobody ever seems to pick any of that up. Everyone just takes it for, oh yeah.
Sounds real. I'll get to your question in a moment, so I'm just going to double check. Okay, your question, yes.
Yeah, on the same subject of editing, did he take control of the editing of his films?
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah, I thought so.
Well, so with Kubrick or any great director.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
is there a case, the gentleman asked about editing, is there any case where Lindsay Anderson ever lost control of a movie to a studio or anything? It seems that he always was able to contain that control, wasn't he?
Once.
Oh.
He did a film for, what do they call that group? It was George Michael's group. What were they called? Wham! Wham in China. So Lindsay did this incredibly beautiful, poetic film. Of course, not all close-ups of George Michael, I have to say. Something that's rather interesting about the whole phenomenon of them going to China and the absurdity of it. And of course they saw it and didn't like it. What they wanted was a video, to sell the thing. So actually, I believe there's still one copy of it somewhere.
Yeah, I showed it at the NFT.
How was it?
I didn't see it.
Well, there you go.
Any other questions? Yes, yours, yes.
The idea wasn't to use multiple roles for the character, the actors.
Oh, questions with multiple roles for various actors.
Yes.
What was the idea was that? What was the thinking?
That was, of course, Lindsay Anderson, because, I remember we were talking about casting, and I was saying, well, it would be great to get Ralph. Let's get Sir Ralph, Richardson to play Monty. And Lindsay said, well, I've always thought of him as the industrialist. We'll have him play both. And I went, well, how can we do that? He goes, well, why not? Just have him play both. Got a great actor, may as well use him. So he did it to everybody, and I felt rather, out of it. And I said, well, God Almighty, I would really like to play another part too. Even every frame of the damn thing. Well, I suppose I am. He said, all right, you can play the peasants at the beginning. So I'm a sort of South American peasant with a big moustache. Viva Zapata.
Well, there was a question last night about illusion and reality, and someone before the film, before we got here, was asking about is this a surrealist movie? And my answer, I thought, no, I wouldn't call Lindsay Anderson a surrealist, but he made films that are dreamlike. They're dreams from which neither the people in them nor the people watching are permitted to awaken. But they have a dreamy logic, if you know what I mean.
I do understand that.
Yeah.
FX, but I think, honestly, Oh Lucky Man is one of the most subversive films I've ever seen. I really do. And that, honestly, is a compliment. Is it not, Mike?
Absolutely. I was told by some Russian director that in the early 70s, when Russia only allowed certain movies to come into play there, Oh Lucky Man was one of them because of what they felt the film was talking about. And it was a huge success. It played there for years and years because it was one of the few English language short films that could play. And so it became a very big success there because of its subversiveness.
Wow.
That's so great. That's so great. Your question.
What is it in general that attracted you to the field of acting in the beginning, at least?
What is it, I have to repeat this for the back, what is it about acting that attracted you at the very beginning at least?
Well, it's a great opening line at a party. I'm an actor, darling. What are you doing later? No, listen. I think if you're an actor, you can't do anything else. You know, I was 11 years old when I went onto the stage at school, and I thought to myself, my God, if all else fails, I'll become an actor. And that was pretty much the way it was, because I wasn't a very good coffee salesman.
What was the transition out of being a coffee salesman? I mean, I guess you enacted here, but what got you from A to B?
Well, I had a girlfriend who sort of disappeared on Friday nights, and I kept saying, well, where the hell are you going? I mean, why can't we go out? I got paid today. She'd say, well, I don't really want to tell you, I don't really want to discuss it, but I'm taking elocution lessons. You know, in Liverpool, that was a very necessary thing to do, because they talk like that. Hello, how you doing? Good, thank you. Great. And we all talk like that, you know. And so you needed a bit of elocution, you know. So that's it. Go down to the old elocution lessons and sing it. Book on the old head, all that. Great. Well, as soon as I lost my accent, the bloody Beatles hit, and everybody wanted to above me. So, I went to see this lady who was 82. Her name was Mrs. Harold Ackley. And another actress went to her too, because when we found out, we fell out laughing. It'll come to me, Rita Tushingham. And Rita, I said, Rita, I know you're from Liverpool, you probably never heard of Mrs. Ackley. She went, Mrs. Harold Ackley. I went, yes! Oh my God! Anyway, we went to her.